That should come through soon. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. As I said, this is the first JAPAC event for Women Who Mule, and very happy for you to be here. The agenda today is very simple. We'll do welcome and introductions. We'll talk a little bit about the MuleSoft community and the ecosystem that we have going. The main topic, obviously, is the panel discussions, where our wonderful speakers will talk about their career journeys and their learnings from the tech field. Very much looking forward to that one. We'll also talk a little bit about how you can get involved in the community and how you can learn a little bit more about MuleSoft if you're new to this. And then we'll do key takeaways and wrap up. So let's get into it. So Women Who Mule started in the Americas as the first meetup, and since then we have joined in from other countries as well. So we now have 3 different groups that are running these events. We have events in EMEA, and now in JAPAC as well. And these are all the wonderful people who are helping us organize those events. So it would be good to get to know them. And this is the JAPAC team. So Ida, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So firstly, Archana, thanks so much for leading this. I'm really grateful that you're leading this initiative in the region for us and very excited for this event. My name is Arda. I'm a senior manager and strategic advisor in the customer success strategy and architecture team based out of Sydney here at MuleSoft. And I work really closely with our JAPAC customers, in particular our financial services customer engagements. And I'm really looking forward to the chat that we're going to be having with some of our customers today. So back to you, Archana, and then I'll jump back in again a little bit later.
Awesome. Thanks, Ada. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Archana Patel. I'm a customer success architect here at MuleSoft. Before I joined MuleSoft, I worked as a MuleSoft developer with a lot of different customers here in New Zealand. I know Vidette from BNZ, and I've also worked in a couple of other places. And with MuleSoft, I'm helping the customers get the most out of Anypoint platform. So very happy to get to know you all today. A little bit about the ecosystem and community for MuleSoft. So I remember when I started as a MuleSoft developer in 2014, I think, and whenever I would introduce myself as a MuleSoft developer, I would most commonly I would just get those blank stares because people didn't know what MuleSoft was, and then I would have to say, okay, fine, integration developer. This is the genre I fall in. But we've come very far from that, and now if you say you're a MuleSoft developer, people know who you are. And that's thanks to this global community that we have got. We've got more than 12,000 people in our meetup groups, in hundreds plus meetup groups, and in 30 plus countries globally. We also have different programs for people to share their expertise with others and mentor those who are learning more about MuleSoft and getting started with their MuleSoft journey. So we have MuleSoft Mentors, which is a program that recognizes the amazing MuleSoft community contributors, people who are writing those amazing blogs and articles and creating those videos to tell us how to do things and things like that. Also MuleSoft ambassadors, which are experts in the community and who share their expertise in terms of speaking at the events, writing those articles, and also mentoring their peers and sharing that knowledge. So we have amazing ambassadors in the JAPAC community as well, actually. We have Akshita, Joy, Jackie, Sudeshna, and there's so many more. So thank you so much for your contribution already. And MuleSoft Help Center is the portal where you can go and ask more questions and find out about how to do things with the MuleSoft products if you ever get stuck. And we have obviously quite a few members there who ask questions regularly and also answer those questions regularly. And as we've seen this community grow, we've also seen a lot of women taking those roles. So we would like to take this wonderful opportunity to create a community here and get to know you all better and understand from where you're coming from, what are your challenges, and how we can all come together to solve those challenges as well. If you talk about the meetup groups, we've got like 58 official meetup groups in JAPAC. No award for guessing. Most of those meetups are in India. We have a huge community of MuleSoft developers in India, and they are really driving these meetup commitments. We also have some few meetup groups in other countries, Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Taiwan, South Korea, and also Australia and New Zealand. We've got 12 different countries where we have meetup groups, and we are only looking to grow those as we go. And who are the people attending these meetups? We have a huge, large ecosystem of customers who are using MuleSoft products for their integration needs. And there's equally impressive number of partners who are helping with those implementation. So these are the people coming to our meetups and sharing their knowledge, sharing their use cases, and helping us learn from each other. With that, I would like to pass it on to Ada, who will take us through the panel discussion. Thank you, Ada.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Archana. And please keep me honest with time. I know I'm going to get carried away with this wonderful group, so keep us honest. So firstly, let me say a massive, massive thank you to our wonderful female leaders for joining us today. Leaders from both within MuleSoft and Salesforce, and of course, leaders from our valued customers at IAG and BNZ. I am truly honored to be speaking with you today, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Now, I've got loads of questions for you, but equally, we want to make sure that we hear from the audience. So please, I do encourage you to type in any questions into the chat, and we'll make sure that we get to them if time allows. Before we get into it, I do want to introduce, and I'm hoping that everybody can see our wonderful panelists on the video. I do want to introduce our incredibly inspiring panelists. If we move on to the next slide, Arch, let's give everybody a sense of who's here with us today. So Vidette Hunter is a creative and curious product manager currently working for BNZ and living in Wellington, New Zealand. A little bit jealous of that, but let's move on. She loves the excitement of product development and ownership to create and offer customers well-designed solutions to their real-life problems. Vidette has a proven track record that spans over 10 plus years of experience in execution and working in agile environments from IT to business initiatives across various industries, ranging from motor, telco, insurance, and of course now banking. Vidette fosters collaborative and supportive team environments with a servant leader approach into delivering value, and believes females have a strong role in the IT industry and should own their place and lead without hesitation. So firstly, amen to that, and welcome, Vidette. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Moving on to Grace Micallef. Based in Melbourne, Grace is responsible for supporting MuleSoft's growth by accelerating sales and managing the enterprise business across Australia. Grace plays an integral role in supporting customers as they innovate and serve their end customers. Grace joined MuleSoft with more than 20 years of experience in enterprise software sales, and she's a passionate leader, creates a shared vision, encourages individuality as well as team dynamics to collectively achieve the best outcome for our customers, for our business, our careers, and personal growth. And I know she's not going to like me saying this, but Grace is actually also a recent award winner from Salesforce for her effective and impactful teaming and leadership. So congratulations and welcome, Grace.
Thank you.
And moving on to Sirin Akbas, Manager of Data Site Reliability Engineering at IAG. Sheryl enjoys working with high-performing teams and has a genuine focus on developing and nurturing team members to help them reach their full potential within the IAG business. Coming from an engineering background, Sheryl is passionate about applying DevOps practices and extending them to the full ecosystem of product development, having seen its highly unique and successful application in real-life situations. Sheryl believes in a continuous development mindset and has a blend of managerial and technical experience gained from working in consultancies and corporate environments, including telco, finance, and defense. Sheryl has also worked with graduates from IAG Technology Graduate Program, interns from Code Like a Girl organization, and also initiated an internship program at IAG known as IAG Regional Labs. Wow, that's amazing. Welcome, Sheryl, and thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
And last, but of course not least, Denise Carson. Originally from Ireland, Denise has been in the Australian IT industry for over 20 years. She's held a number of roles, including practice and solutions director to sales and marketing leadership positions. Denise has worked in the fields of AI, predictive analytics, cybersecurity, and big data, to just name a few, and she has sold into every single industry. Denise has worked for large Australian systems integrator DXC, as well as leading US software vendor Splunk, and of course now MuleSoft. She is inspired by emerging technology and finding better ways to solve business problems. Denise is also a passionate advocate for the LGBTQ community and is the co-chair for Outforce ANZ at Salesforce. Welcome, Denise. Let's get right into it. So, as I said, I've got loads of questions, and we just heard your impressive backgrounds and impressive your journeys to date as well. We've got a room full of people who are passionate about technology. And as I mentioned, you all have very impressive stories to share. So, Grace, can I start with yourself? Could you unpack your journey with us in terms of your career? Why did you decide to get into tech? What were the main drivers? Just take us through it.
Okay, thanks. So what got me into tech? So I think when I was completing my secondary education in the early 90s, computer studies was a relatively new subject offering at the school that I was attending. And I was introduced to programming, and I found that the logical nature of writing code was appealing. So that might be something to think about. So a career counsellor at the time provided a session. It was IT and the future. And funnily enough, the things that were discussed in this particular seminar at the time seemed quite unbelievable. But however, as we assess where we are now in terms of innovation and the prevalence of IT in our everyday lives, it really has surpassed what our expectations are. And I think this really was the start for me in terms of, I thought it was pretty cool and I wanted to be part of what was cool and what was emerging. And that's why I chose to pursue IT in my university days.
Wow, fantastic. And Denise, can I maybe turn to you? You've obviously done this at a global scale as well. You've been in the Australian sector for about the last 20 years. Do you see any parallels in your story to what?
And my story is actually quite different. I think Grace is probably a bit more well thought out than mine. I worked originally after leaving university, where I first studied medicine, and then I studied arts, so photography and graphic design, and then I went to work in my family's business, and I ran the computer systems in that business. We had an IBM System 34. So this is back in the last century. I worked for my family's business, and I got into sales because one day my father said, "Hey, I need a sales rep to go and sell in Northern Ireland." We sold baby products, so like prams and pushchairs and stuff. And I thought, okay, I can do that. So off I went to help my family's business out. Then I moved to the UK, and it wasn't sustainable for me to stay working for my family anymore. So I started applying for jobs. And basically there were two jobs that came up. And one was in the packaging industry. Yeah, I'm sure we've all seen the pallets at the back of supermarkets. And the other one was for a barcoding organization. So they sold barcode verification and printing technology. And I thought that sounds a bit more interesting. I stayed with them for a little while and then got into much more mainstream tech, distributing vendors' products. So it was a toss of a coin. And I've followed technology since. I mean, obviously it sounded a lot more interesting than selling packaging, but yeah, one thing led to another, and my career has literally, it's just unfolded. It wasn't sort of very well planned out. However, I have no regrets.
I was just going to ask that question. Are you planning on reactivating your medicine experience or medicine journey at all? Does that ever cross your mind?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because about 15 years ago, I decided to study yoga teaching. And at the time, like going back, and it's a fairly heavy lift. And I was a bit concerned about it, but on the first day, and I opened up the anatomy book and thought, oh, I know this. So it wasn't going down the path of medicine, but let's call it alternative medicine, and it's helping people to be well through a very ancient practice. So yeah, it kind of did close a circle for me.
That's awesome. Well, what a story. It's not always what you go to school for. It's not always your first job that defines it, is it? I'd love to hear, Sheryl and Vidette, of course, you've been in industry and multiple industries, but you've always been very close to tech, right? You're either hands-on very closely or very close to the teams delivering tech initiatives. I'd love to get your views. Sheryl, maybe can I start with yourself?
Yes.
I'll start with my probably education. I was born in Turkey, so I came to Australia in 2000. So my early years and education, and even I worked at Turkey in defense for 9 years. So when I was trying to choose my uni subject, there was a great movement in Turkey about the kind of just promoting females in the technology. So I wanted to probably take that opportunity, and I was really, it was really interesting for me, like females being in that industry together with the males, and they can just prove themselves. So I chose electronics engineering as my uni degree, and I had no idea about electronics, but over the time I learned a few things, of course. But then I just developed interest in digital signal processing, and then started playing with code. So that's how I started getting into code. And I think at those years I started with Pascal and then C, C++, but there was lots of MATLAB also involved. And then moved on to defense in Turkey. That was a great field, and it had lots of opportunities, especially the city I was born. So I worked in defense for a while. But coming to Australia, there was no, of course, defense jobs. I was not able to, because not being Australian. And then I get into coding more and more, and I enjoyed it and loved it more and more. So worked in Australia coding for many years, and just 4 or 5 years ago, I started doing technical management, as I enjoy technology and just guiding the teams around that. So that's my story, Arda.
Wow, fast. And you do a lot, of course, in terms of giving back that experience as well, don't you? Both within the IAG community and externally as well.
That's right. That's right. So I can just talk about a couple. At IAG, I really loved working closely, really intelligent people, and building high-performing teams, but also giving the opportunity to young generation. So IAG offers many internship programs, and this is one of them is graduate programs, and the other one is they work partner with Code Like a Girl organization. So over the last 3-4 years, probably at least 10 interns or graduates we work with. But that then gave me the idea of just initiating or setting up our own at IAG, which is called IAG Regional Labs. That's focusing on giving opportunity to young generation in regional Victoria, but we will probably try regional New South Wales as well. So we partnered with Deakin University in Geelong, and we had 2 interns so far, but that partnership is going really well. So they are just from those, they live in the regional area, but they don't have access to city as much as, of course, we do. But there's a great potential in regional area. So that's going well.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And Vidette, how about yourself? I'm already feeling completely unqualified talking to this panel about my business degree and my average career, but it's great to be hearing from all of you. So Vidette, to you, understand a bit more about your journey.
Yes. It's not as nearly as exciting as the rest of the panelists. When I was 18, I was a little bit rebellious. Everyone went to study the normal things, and I went to look for something that nobody else studied because I wanted to do something different and not just do what my dad said I needed to go do. So I stumbled across information technology, and the person giving the talk talked about AI. And I fell in love with that. I thought, oh, wow, imagine creating things like that. That just sounds amazing. The first day I walked into the university was quite interesting. It was a room full of people, and the lecturers just blew my mind away. So I got really overwhelmed, and I just couldn't stop learning new things about it. So I really enjoyed the 3 years I studied. Then I started my first job at a startup as a business analyst, and the first time I had a customer in front of me with a problem, and we tried to solve their problem, and after a few weeks provided them with something that made their lives easier, and just see the gratitude on their face was something that I thought, oh wow, I want to do this and do more of it. Then I ventured into different companies, different industries. I get bored quite easily. So I jumped around trying to find new things and just stretching myself. And then at a point 3 years ago, we decided to move to New Zealand. So we started our journey seeing how everything works on this side of the world. That's been really amazing. That's it.
Fantastic. ask you ladies, whoever wants to go first, please feel free to do so. You've just talked us through, you know, how you got to where you are, what were some of the drivers, maybe what were some of the, you know, choices that you just kind of went through as you moved on with your careers. Any highlights that come to mind? And I do want to intentionally ask, in those highlights, what actually makes it a highlight? You know, do you think things like culture play a role in teams, in companies, in leadership styles? What actually makes it a highlight? What makes it a good experience? I'd love to hear those, you know, discrete examples of what is a highlight in your journeys. Whoever wants to go first.
I'm happy to have a crack at that if you want.
Please do.
So, yeah, I was thinking about this when I was prepping for the session, and there's so many things that have been great that have happened in my career. And I think, you know, your question, Arda, is a good one. Culture. Of all of the wonderful experiences and memories that I have in my career, culture and team is at the heart of it. And I think finding that and finding the opportunity to build it is what makes these moments really special. One of the companies I worked for in the UK, the one I was the sales director there, was the distribution company, software distribution company. We had the most incredible team culture. We worked hard, we played hard. We traveled the world together. We ran spiffs for the teams, took them all over Europe, but we also with our customers to places like Hong Kong, to Egypt. I remember going there with the customers. To we whitewater rafted down Victoria Falls. Incredible experiences, but built on culture and built on teamwork. And I actually do think one of the most recent highlights for me is finding that again within MuleSoft and within Salesforce. The Salesforce culture is great. The MuleSoft culture that sits within that is even more special. And I will call out the industry's team culture is even more special. And the opportunity to build that and to build teams is just wonderful in this company. And then for me, the other highlight has been working for a company that allows me to really give back, particularly in an area that I'm super passionate about. So being asked to co-chair Outforce is also, you know, a very recent career highlight, but a big one for me.
And I'm sure you're not biased at all when you say InduStream team is number one. No bias there whatsoever.
No. Completely objective.
I think to build on that culture, I think that's what makes your journey or your highlights in your careers, because when you have a great culture in an organization, it creates an environment where people are champions for you, and you're working amongst amazing people who are not just only thinking about their own agendas, but how they are helping others to be successful in an organization. And I think if I think about my career and the steps that I've taken to get to where I am, it's because someone's believed in me and tapped me on the shoulder and has made me believe in myself to push myself forward. So whenever I've had doubt, I've had someone championing me and believing in me to move forward. And culture creates those people, right? So we all sit here and we all champion and advocate for each other. And I think Salesforce and MuleSoft has a huge culture for coaching. And a highlight for me, and particularly in the last 3.5 years at MuleSoft, is people that I coach in the business. I see their confidence grow and how they approach different situations now. And it's so rewarding to see the layers of maturity as they then extend themselves and try new things. And then in turn, they're actually teaching me new ways to look at things, because it's a two-way process. When you coach people, it really gives you a lens on how they see things, and it really then develops you as a leader. So I think the place like MuleSoft and Salesforce really cultivates that relationships.
I would like to add on to that, Grace. My biggest achievement was because of a lady, my previous manager, that believed in me, and her leadership style and coaching enabled me to achieve something massive. I saw a problem in a business area and I wanted to implement something. And the CTO said to me, "Oh, you're just a girl that thinks you know how to solve the world's problems." And I was a little bit taken back by it. And I thought, oh, I would like to show you that I can really solve this problem. And my manager at that time, she told me, "I've got your back, do this, let me help you, and let's implement the solution." And within 45 minutes of implementing the digital tool that we did, 700 people started using it online. And I could go back to the CTO and tell him, "It's actually working. Everything that you said is not going to work is working." And he had to sit back and apologize. And that was quite a highlight for me in my career, to prove that with somebody that really believed in what I was trying to do, and just that guidance and leadership from her encouraged me to really implement something that I believed in. And we changed quite a lot of things for that company by implementing this new solution. So I think training, coaching, and empowerment from your leadership is really important.
And I think to your point, Vidette, love that story. I think equally detractors sometimes can also be really motivating, right? You know, going through with what you said you were going to do and actually proving that to be a success, I think is a great story to tell as well. So fantastic. Sheryl, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can also add to the culture. I truly agree with everyone. Culture is in the heart of, I think, everything. Like, and by the highlight of my career was to start a team from scratch, so building something new. And I was very lucky at IAG, was working with a few developers, and we started an API team together 3-4 years ago, and now it's grown to quite a bit, like around 40 people. But I think at the heart of that, or at the center of that, was the excitement, which is, I think, complementing all the things you said about culture. For us, was the excitement. When we are excited about building something new, or excited about even coming to work, that makes it a success at the end. Another aspect I want to talk about is this being self-sufficient as a team as well. So that made it a highlight for me, building a team which is self-sufficient. Just in terms of technology-wide, it is the being able to build, develop, deploy, and everything all together. That made it a highlight for me as well.
For sure. And can I ask, we've talked a little bit about what made those highlights really special and what was, the secret ingredients. I just want to get your thoughts, ladies, on a piece of advice that I've received in my career. And that was to have a board of directors, a personal board of directors in your journey, right? So almost thinking of it as, who do you go to for advice? Who do you go to for support? Who do you go to almost keep yourself accountable on your plans, on what you want to execute? And I don't have a full board yet, I must admit, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on, who do you turn to when you individually need that support and guidance? And what do you think about that idea of the board of directors? Is that something that you would see working in real life?
Yeah, I can go. Yes, it does work in real life. I mean, when I think about the people that I turn to for advice, I mean, I have a couple of layers. I think about people in the business that I've worked in, people that I trust and whose values align, and people who have generally trotted that path before. So if I've seen that they're in a role that I might be interested in, and I trust their advice, I would seek some mentoring from them around what do I need to do, or how do I prepare for a particular role, who else do I talk to, because they generally would then have their network that they can expose you to. And then another layer would be the people who I care about. So it's my inner circle, right? So they're the people that know me best, and they're the ones that give it to me as it is, and they don't sugarcoat anything. And ultimately, they're my support crew. And any decision that I make, I need them to be on board, because we have to be prepared as a team, and especially my family, to be together to do the next chapter, because without that, I can't do what I need to do. So if they're not on board, then I'm not going to be successful. So that they're really important. And I think for me as well, it's my intuition. So if I listen to my inner voice and the feelings that I have about a particular role or a particular journey that I'm going, I just have to trust it. And if it doesn't feel right, then I shouldn't go for it. And I try to decipher, does it feel right because I'm nervous and scared? Because if it's about fear, then I try to plow through that, because fear is usually where the best learnings are had. It's not always perfect, but intuition and trusting my inner voice is really important.
Yeah, just echoing what you said, Grace. Your intuition. If there's a voice in your head that's telling you something strongly, you do need to listen to it. For me, it's similar. There's people in the business that I go to. I mean, you're one of those people, Grace. Bill Hicks is another one. I've recently found a mentor in Salesforce, which is very exciting. So Paul Voges has agreed to mentor me, and I've worked with Paul for a long time. He knows how this thing goes, so he's seen a lot of it before, and he's a good person for me to bounce ideas off. My coach that I have through work would definitely be part of that. But then my inner circle, to your point, so my husband, Ian, my daughter, even though she's only 21, she's wise beyond her years. And interestingly enough, my yoga teacher, who I've been with for, 15 years now, she would definitely be on my board of directors.
So what I'm hearing, I think, from both of you is it's a combination of family members, friends, in your close circle, yourself at the center of that, your intuition, as well as the professional network that we can all tap into. And I think we're personally, really lucky to have that network within both MuleSoft and Salesforce in our instances as well. Vidette, what are you thinking? Do you agree with what's been said? Do you have any additional board of director candidates that come to mind?
Oh, I have. I've got the same as Denise and Grace, but I also have people that challenges me. So it's not necessarily somebody that I always have one or two people on my board that I know would not see eye to eye to me, because that challenges me and lets me think about a different side of things. But I do have my people that will help me and encourage me. But I also have those other ones that's not always the friendliest people, but they're the ones that challenges me and make sure I'm thinking about all the aspects that I need to think about. But I think my inner circle is the most important one to me.
Maybe I can add to that, Arda. I work with many, of course, executive managers at IAG over the last 10 years. And I have one male and one female, and I really look them as like my role models as well over these years. And I sometimes go to them and get their perspectives on different matters and get their advice. And the other one is my colleagues, but they're more like my friends right now. And I like the way Vidette put it. They challenge me, so we challenge each other. And usually I just go to them, and I think it's the drinks that we have and the get-together. So they are my board of directors, and so I get lots of ideas, lots of excitement, and many things from them.
That's awesome. And I think we have an opportunity, hopefully, to tap into each other's board of directors as well, as we move forward. And that's what I wanted to maybe pivot a little bit into as well. So we talked about who we turn to in times of, when we need advice, when we need guidance. And of course, we talked a little bit about the causes that you support as well, to give back, based on the journeys that you've all been on as well. But can I just explicitly ask, if you think about the initiatives that either are in place or that can be put in place to support both women in leadership and women who are aspiring to be in leadership, what do you think those are? What do you think we can do better or more of to support women, both in technology and outside of that as well?
I can give a couple of examples, and there are programs that I joined over the years, and probably there are many of them, but I'll just talk about them as examples. So one is what's called the Game Changers program for females, and IAG was offering that. So that was to help females build confidence in their business, strategic and finance acumen. So especially strategic was the important bit for me, because sometimes females in certain environments, they a bit hold back on their vision on strategy, etc. So that was a great program I joined almost 3 years ago. And it was also had some males in the presentations, etc., so that it's not just a female environment. And I really found it useful. Another one I'm working right now, and it's again IAG partnership with that, is the Australian Business and Community Network. Maybe you guys have heard about that. It's called ABCN, and they offer so many programs to schools. So one program I attended was working with a disadvantaged school and helping especially girls build their goals and objectives for their careers. And right now I'm working with Layla College through that program, and we are doing one-on-ones with females and guiding them through their, like, how they can be leaders in the future. So that's a program I found it very useful.
Definitely. Is there anything similar in BNZ, Vidette? Any programs targeted like the ones that Sheryl was talking about?
Not specific that I'm aware of, but we have started up a SAS guild. It's like all the girls in the engineering domain that we are trying to uplift and help each other out, mentoring, and just a few more leadership style things. So we just started that up. It's been taken up quite. People really like and enjoy it. So we are trying to do it in such a way that, so we said the men are allowed to join if they want, but it's primarily for girls because nobody wants to be excluded. But it's really about uplifting each other and helping each other in the technology world. And it's been a real good experience the last few weeks.
That's awesome. And I think you made such a key point there. You know, today we're highlighting women in technology, women in leadership, but in our audience, we've got our wonderful male colleagues, male counterparts supporting that as well. It's really being inclusive in that community and supporting each other, isn't it?
Yeah, that's important.
Absolutely. Grace and Denise, any thoughts from your end? Obviously, you've been at Salesforce and MuleSoft for a while, but you do a lot outside of that as well. So I wanted to make sure that we capture your thoughts too.
Yeah, I might just give you a couple of thoughts. So more in the realms of advice. In terms of, one of the things that I know happens when sometimes when women look at roles that they want to go for, and the statistics aren't bang on, but they're as near as makes no difference. A woman will look at job descriptions and they will look to have, you know, over 90%. They'll question themselves if they can't tick every box or almost every box. A man will look at a job description, and if they're sort of 60%ish, they'll go, yeah, I'll have a crack at that. And that's not my opinion. That's, you know, a statistically significant fact. So my advice to females who want to pursue a role, their next role, whatever it might be, is don't think that you have to be able to tick all the boxes, and really give that consideration. The other thing that I would advise is find a mentor, find mentors, find a coach, find a platform that you can speak from, and whether that's you know, an equality group that you might want to join, whether it's, you know, what you guys are doing at for Women Who Mule is a really good example of that. But find a platform where you can express yourself and practice using your voice and do some good in that process, not just for yourself, but to help others as well. And, you know, be proactive. If you have a goal, have a plan on how you're going to get to that goal. The last thing I want to say here is, if you do see something that's not right, microaggressions, or, you know, whatever it might be, say something. See something, say something. Situation, behavior, the impact that behavior has had. the person who might have said something or not said something may not even realize that's what they've done or haven't done. So call it out. Use caring but radical candor. So those are just some of the things that I think are important for us all to think about.
I love that. And I think one of the anecdotes that stuck with me over the years is Sheryl Sandberg often talks about this speech that she was giving at Facebook one day. And she talked and, time was up and she said, sorry, no more questions. And before she said that, people had their hands up. This is back when we had face-to-face interactions, of course, you'll remember. And she said, sorry, time is up, no more questions. And the moment she said that, all the women put their hands down and some of the men in the audience kept their hands up. And she took the questions. She said, okay, one more, two more. And she actually talks about it as, I'm talking about this lean in movement, really bad about that, reflecting on it. I reacted to it. But so, the example that you've given on the job application, I can certainly personally attest to that. I think often we look at it and go, I don't tick all the boxes. I don't think that'll be right. So thank you so much for that advice, Denise. Very, very relevant, I think, for the community. Grace, anything you would add?
I have an underlying belief in always saying yes to opportunities, and it doesn't matter how uncomfortable it makes you, because that uncomfort is your growth. So having an attitude of that I can do this. So generally, whenever I get asked to do something, if my little voice says, oh, I don't want to do it because I don't want to stand up in front of 100 people or whatever, then I automatically go, no, you're going to do it. And just really making yourself move forward. And I've said it before, right? Really seek out people who you believe can inspire you and support you, and have conversations with people in the broader business and even outside of. We get exposed to so many partners and organizations. Have conversations with them about their journeys or their aspirations, because this naturally leads to shaping a plan and a path. And it puts the intention in motion. I really do believe that if you have an intent to achieve something, in one way or another, it will turn out. So if you have that belief and you've got a can-do attitude, you'll get there.
And look, I think, Archana, do we have time for one more?
We have 3 more minutes.
Okay, excellent.
We have 2 more minutes.
Can I just I can see from the audience, I don't think there's any specific questions, so I'll just ask one more if that's okay. So you already talked about some of the call to actions, and Denise, you've given us some great examples from your lived experiences as well. And we know that it's not always rosy, right? We talk about turning to people that we can get guidance from. We talk about advancing, but there are roadblocks, there are setbacks, there are actions as you described, Denise. Can I ask if you're comfortable sharing any of those examples that you might have come across and how you overcame it? So I want to definitely end this on a positive. What are the learnings that you took from those? And what would your advice be for the audience? Sure. I'll go to you first, if that's okay.
Thanks, Arda. I think the biggest challenge I've been facing was the boundaries in my mind. So I think as females, we should remove those boundaries and experiment and test and be out there as much as we can. As a society, like, we still have these women in tech and females, etc., all those initiatives. I think we will get there and be just one in the future when we don't have those programs, or we don't even think about those. So where we are really there as a human being. So I think that's what I'm advising to young girls, as well as myself and whoever I just meet with.
Thank you.
I think as well, if every lady, girl, person that comes across our path, if we can really uplift them and support them so they can make their mark in whatever that way they want that, I think that is so important. If we as girls or humans even just support each other and try, every person that leaves with something good or something positive around, I think we'll make a big difference to the world if we start living positively like that.
So true.
Very true, actually. So I think about challenges that I've faced whenever I've been I'm told I can't do something because someone else has an opinion, or I just don't quite fit into that person's view of how my role in that. Don't take that on as you. Reflect it. Do you really want to work for someone like that? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be miserable because they're not aligning with your values. They're not there to support you. So in a way, it's the universe actually giving you a card out, in my view. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't get there. I was never meant to be there in the first place, and that's okay because there's another path for me. So don't take it on as your own issue. And Sheryl, I believe in this whole the boundaries that we place on ourselves around what we can and can't do. We do it to ourselves. So again, it's just saying yes and be confident, and it's okay to fail because that's how we all learn. And if you look at people before us, men and women, they've all failed and they've all resurrected and been quite successful, right? So I think that's important. And I think things that we need to all do is women need to support each other better, right? Because we're not the best allies for each other. I find men in my life have been amazing allies, but not women. So, that's really disappointing. And then seek out really strong men. Networks. There's so many of them that are there to.
And again, just following on from what Grace is saying there, there's a saying, you vote with your feet, and they're either walking in the door or they're walking out the door. And I had an experience, and I've had many experiences in my lengthy career of what good doesn't look like. But one that really sprang to mind for me was when in a big software vendor I worked previous to MuleSoft, where a young, very talented young inside sales rep, female rep, was told not to bother even applying for a field sales role. This is by a very senior male executive, because she had 2 young children and she was completely unsuitable for the role because of that. And that was kind of a tipping point for me. Lots of other things had happened, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to change the culture. It was a subculture within the Australian business, not a global culture. And I chose to leave because it did not align with my values. But that opened up another door for me, and it's one I'm so happy that I walked through. And I'm here now.
That's awesome. I want to say a massive thank you, firstly, for your honesty, for, as Denise put it, and as one of our values, for your radical candor. We can see already in the comments how valuable our audience found this discussion. So thank you. And Grace, to your point, I think this is a great step in women supporting each other a little bit better. Maybe it's a tiny step that we can do, but I love that it's something that we can even start as we're talking about it today. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for sharing your personal stories. I personally have found them incredibly inspiring. I'm actually getting goosebumps. I know you can't see them, but I love this conversation. Highlight of my day. I'm sure will be the highlight of my week and potentially my month. So thank you. I want to hand back over to Archana to wrap us up and give us some key takeaways from this session. But many thanks. So thanks for being part of today. Back to you, Archana.
Thanks, Ada, and thanks to all the panelists. That was amazing. I was just listening and nodding continuously the whole time. And I see in chat as well, there was a lot of people who agreed with what you had to say. So thank you for sharing that. I'm happy this was like a really candid discussion and that we all got some really good takeaways. For me personally, I think it was what you all kind of echoed is that we stand in our own way. And that's kind of something that we need to just keep in mind all the time when applying for a job, when saying yes to an opportunity. And it's just something to keep in mind. And when it comes from someone else, when it comes from someone who is experienced, I think it adds a lot more weight to it. So yes, I'll try and remember that when I come across more opportunities. So thank you for that. I will just wrap up with a few final things. To all in the audience, if you're new to MuleSoft and you would like to learn more about MuleSoft, we've got a few resources for you to sort of have a look at. So if you're brand new to MuleSoft, we recommend that go and have a look at the training portal. We have got some self-paced courses that are free or some instructor-led as well, and certification programs. This will really help you get into that MuleSoft roles that if you're looking to apply for those developers, architects, etc. And it's a great way to improve your knowledge on the subject as well. There's another very good thing that came out of the customer success unit of MuleSoft is Friends of Mix video series. So these are bite-sized videos that we do on different topics. They basically just cover introduction on the topic, sometimes demos, but it's a good way to I guess get to know more about that particular topic. So do have a look at those and tell us your feedback, how those are doing. And if you would like to get involved in the community, we have some ideas for you there as well. We would love for you to join the LinkedIn group that we have, which is Women Who Mule. We'll share the link in the chat, and also the MuleSoft Meetup group, which is this one. But if you sign up to it, you'll get to know more about the Meetup updates, etc. as well whenever we have next Meetup and things like that. LinkedIn group is global as well, so you'll get to meet a lot more people from the other areas as well, for Americas, Europe, etc. And we all share articles or helpful resources for you to use in this. There's something else that has come up which might be of interest to you. We are making good use of the virtual workforce at the moment, everyone working from home and being able to join meetups online. We started a few industry-focused meetup groups that focus on specific industries. So for example, there's healthcare and life sciences, finance and public sector and government, etc. What this gives you an opportunity is to discover different use cases in the similar industry and get inspired for your future projects. You can learn how other companies are doing it and something you can take in your own environment as well, and helps you make those connections. And if you like to speak up in those meetups or even organize one in your own area, there are what do you call it? Incentives for that. So if you like to speak at an event, you would get a free training. So contact Mariana Lemus for that. She leads the global MuleSoft community, and she would be happy to spend some opportunities your way as well. And with that, thank you so much for joining us, and we would love to hear from you what you liked today and what you would like to see in the future as well. We'll add this to the event survey that goes out afterwards, so feel free to tell us what you would like to see in the next meetup, and we'll make sure that we attend to what is relevant to you. And the next meetup we're hoping to have in October, and we would love to see you there. So thank you so much again for joining us, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you very much. And thanks again to all the panelists. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Archana.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.